BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
All right, boys, Eddie Hearn here, king of boxing. You may know me as the #1 boxing promoter in the world, or you might know me as the strange geezer who always pops up on your Instagram memes. Anyway, Crouchy's asked me to do his swear warning this week, and I've got a question coming to him later as well. But firstly, I must tell you that this following podcast contains strong language and adult themes. You cheeky little...
Hey, Crouchy, I heard Boris Johnson in his speech the other day, he went dangerously close to dropping a back stronger.
He was so close to saying it when he back stronger. Britain back stronger. But we'll just stay alert instead, shall we?
Stay alert, everyone.
Crouchy P on the MIC. We're doing this just for free.
Do you give it the sniff test?
Peter, come do the quiz.
Feel a little bit like Dirty Den.
You and your two silly little mates.
Silly little mates, just wrap it up.
Is it weird doing one of these whilst wearing clothes?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We're cruising at 2,400 feet.
Let's free the ketchup.
So much to get off my chest.
And you've always had magnificent teeth.
How bad have things got?
It's going downhill now, isn't it?
The nation will be back stronger. Hello and welcome to another episode of That Peter Crouch podcast with me, Peter Crouch. We're working from home again. I'm with Tom Fordyce and Chris Stark. You right, boys?
Are you okay, Crouchy? You're not in the finest Crouchy mood I've ever seen.
No, I'm not.
What's wrong? Do you need?
Oh,
do you need to tell us anything?
I'm done with lockdown. I'll be honest with you. Been an intense weekend.
Yeah,
we had a barbecue and stuff like that, and we had a few drinks, and then I'm hangover the next day.
Have you found yourself snapping?
Yeah, a couple of times. It's not really my nature. I'm not a snappy person, but a couple of times I've just laughed at the situation. You know, where you just go, "This is
the best medicine.
This is so fucking stressful." I'm just going to laugh at this situation because it's hilarious how much I'm not enjoying it.
Great to hear Eddie Hearn there, lads. We have had to get a beep straight in though. Not ideal, probably.
I do enjoy having people on this. Doing a ridiculous warning.
It's been a bit of a revelation in my life. I always thought he was an utter arsehole. Just everything about him. I always saw him sort of jump on with the boxing, and he was a little bit John Terry in how we'd try and steal the glory of whoever's been fighting. But I think I've got him all wrong, because everything I've heard of him recently, I just think he's spot on with stuff he says. He seems like a nice guy.
I met him a couple of times. Absolute top man. So, friend of the pod.
Why is it, boys, that the no context Hearn thing works so well?
It is a strange one. I mean, I'd never have thought that out of context Eddie Hearn would be as big as it is.
But what Eddie Hearn's done, I don't really know how he's done it, but he's just sort of cornered the market. Like, whenever I need to respond to anything with you guys, I'll always put Eddie Hearn in the WhatsApp, It's all the GIFs, it's all the memes. He's as famous for that.
Crouchy, you're quite memey though, aren't you, as well?
He is memey, yeah.
Really?
Well, there's the one where you're doing the chat thing with your hands either side. That pops up all the time.
It does pop up, yeah. That does
Not a day goes by on social media without someone going, yeah, he's giving it all that.
Yeah.
Illustrated with you in your Stoke shirt.
The only reason anyone's going to use you at the moment is for like, it's a baby boy, and then it's you doing the robot, or it's like, we're finally going out to the pub, that kind of thing.
Boris has unlocked the Alberonis.
Yay! And then it's you throwing out the shapes.
Well, boys, I've got some exciting news for you. Before we get stuck into our questions for Crouchy, I've had an email from the Carl at the BBC who was stopping us playing the new music on the pod. They've signed something off, something's been ticked, and we've had loads and loads sent in. Thank you to everyone who sent them. Apparently, we can only play music from people who've filled out a form. Our first one is from Benjamin.
3 lads and a microphone, they sit around chatting breeze. Football's on the menu here, but also ketchup and Mike Dean.
I love this.
Come on, Benjamin.
Crouch podcast.
I quite like it. It's a bit like the podcast, isn't it? It shouldn't really work, but it does.
It's laid back, isn't it? Is it enough to get people going at the start of the podcast?
It sounds like a pissed up pensioner in the corner of a pub. And that's kind of perfect, isn't it? Like, can you age Benjamin there? He could be anything from 16 to 106.
Yeah, I mean,
I definitely wouldn't rule that one out.
I'm not ruling that out. I'm definitely not ruling that out at all.
It feels, boys, like we should all take on a persona of a judge from a well-known TV talent show for that one.
Okay.
Louis, what do we think of the track from Benjamin?
You're a star. You've made it. I absolutely love it. Oh, my God, Simon, we should sign these right now.
It sounded quite American, that.
He did
for me.
sound very American, yeah.
Not so Irish.
You're amazing. He goes like, you're amazing. You sign them, Simon. These are unbelievable. Let's sign them.
Next one is from Craig.
Fuck off.
That's Stevie Wonder.
Oh.
That has brought tears to my eyes, boys. That is so acid jazz.
Wow.
Oh, Craig, you
The
beauty.
thing is, right, it's so bad that I quite like it.
It's an interlude halfway through the podcast at best.
Right, here's Simon's effort. Of course, a bit early for this.
Yes. Yeah, if coronavirus was a song, that would be it, wouldn't it?
Back
like
stronger
that.
vibes. Back stronger. Oh, it's a bit intense. I felt like I was on the waltzers for a minute there, at the fair.
I actually really, really like that. He's got the back stronger in there. At least it's bespoke.
I think it's a good effort. I do think it's a bit heavy.
Well, boys, we've got one from Sandy and Greg here. See what you think of this one. It's our first double effort.
We're back stronger.
Oh, mate.
So much stronger. So much stronger. If Dre and Box could see us now, we're passing the pod all the way to Crouchella.
Contains some strong language and adult themes.
Yes.
Now we are talking.
Yes,
All over
yes.
That was such an epic tune that it's weird to think it only lasted 30 seconds.
These are a great start, and we should just encourage this more. Because there's a song out there, boys. There's a song out there which will change the world.
So are we agreed then, boys, that it was Sandy and Greg as our current favourite?
I believe so. I think that's top draw.
Nice. Well, I
Perfect.
think we'll have a few more every week to choose from. So let's see where we get to.
This is the episode that we do every week where we get to put your questions to Crouchy, and you can email them. Crouchy, what's the email address?
It's peter.crouch@bbc.co.uk.
That's the
So
one.
easy.
So let's kick this off. Emily's got in touch. We're looking to get a puppy and started to think about names. If you were to name one after a footballer, who would it be and why? And would you want it to adopt the player's persona?
Well, I'd name it after someone. If you're thinking about persona, I think I'd go for Matt Letizia. Loyal. We can teach him to do some of the most unbelievable things and things that you wouldn't expect from a dog like that. I don't think he'd bite, and he certainly wouldn't run off.
I'm a big fan of dogs that look like their owners as well. There must be an article that's been out there of footballers that look like dogs. Have you written that article before, Tom?
As chief sports writer at the BBC, if you wrote the article of...
It was what got me the job. It was the suggestion of that piece.
There's a thing at the minute, of players paying a lot of money for like dogs that already come trained. I know a few lads who have got them, and they're
That's so footballer.
I'm talking military dogs. A lot of it to do with protection. I suppose a lot of players are targets. It would be handy to have a huge dog that can do exactly what you tell it to do.
Boys, we've had a message from Elliot in New Zealand. This is quite a nice one. Elliot says, you've given the great analogy of the buffalo and gazelle defenders, but I like to think that centre-halves are making a similar analogy when playing two strikers. So which one are you, and what have your strike partners been?
I'd be more of a buffalo, I think.
A gazelle for you would be a Defoe.
Yeah, like someone rapid up front with me usually works quite well. And I'd be the buffalo to his gazelle. Or for want of another analogy, I think maybe a donkey to a fox, something like that.
You can't call yourself a donkey on your own
No,
podcast.
you see, this is not... donkeys have been falsely labelled. They work hard, never complain. They get results. They have a huge impact, hopefully, on a football pitch. And I think that's why I'll be happy to be a donkey, whereas a fox more cunning, someone around sort of sniffing around the 6-yard box, sort of a fox in a box.
Wasn't Gary Lineker fox in a box?
But I've gone quite primitive with my animals there. And I don't know, in all honesty, are they even compatible, donkeys and foxes?
I mean, a donkey is domesticated and a fox is a wild animal.
One's not going to start either mating with or attacking the other, are they? They're sort of just in their own lanes.
Sutton and Shearer, donkey, fox.
That was a great partnership, you know. I don't want to label other people as... I fucking haven't got a clue what we're talking about here.
Do you know we've talked before about you becoming the new Attenborough? This was the closest we've got, I'm fairly certain. I was listening to you just try and work that out in your brain there. And you're so serious, Crouchy.
I'm taking it seriously.
I will not call great strikers donkeys.
No, but if you go out of context there, you know, it looks like I'm calling someone a donkey. You know, but it's what I'm trying to get at is there's a lot of workload on one of the strikers, and the other one will sort of feed off that. And it's a bit like when you see, you know, all the flies over the tigers. You know, when all those like parasites are sort of like hovering around a tiger's eyeball, and he's got the power to finish them off, but he doesn't. The little gnat's just gnawing away at him. So it's a bit like a tiger and a gnat in lots of ways.
They're beautiful analogies. All of these could be kids' books, I'm fairly certain.
Crouchy's done the robot again because it's 100 Premier League goals for Peter Crouch.
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
It does get me thinking, though. Have you been in situations, Crouchy, where another strike partner's particularly pissed you off just from constantly nabbing your goals?
What about that game where Crouchy plays for Spurs and Jermaine Defoe scores 5?
I think 3 of them should have been squared. And I think when he got his hat-trick, I kept saying to him, Jay, any fucking chance? And he would say, yeah, next time.
He's celebrating his hat-trick. The whole ground's going bananas. And he's got his strike partner in his ear going, fuck's sake.
What you're describing here, which I've never really thought about, is almost the mentality of a selfish lover, in that it's really only about their satisfaction. And that's the funny thing about strikers in your position.
But I suppose it can be selfish in some ways and still be
mutually beneficial.
Yeah, and you know, the earth can still move, even, you know, with a selfish lover.
Can you think of many examples where you've decided to be a generous lover and you wanted to shoot, but you've laid it off?
Yeah, there has been. And there's also been that occasion. I remember one particular scenario where Jermaine Defoe, my first goal for Portsmouth. So Jermaine Defoe's gone round 2. I remember Sean Davis backheeled it to him. He's gone round 2 and he's chipped the keeper. It's hit the crossbar and come down, bounced out. And I've headed it into an open goal. And it was close, whether it was over the line or not, right? But I've headed it in anyway and then ran to the fans, making sure that everyone knew it was my goal. I turned around and Jay was celebrating with a few other teammates, and a few teammates were running to me as well. So it was like a goal off, if you like. And, you know, if we didn't get on, he would have just tore into me there. But we got on great, and I think he could see that it was my first goal, and I was like, look, and it was touch and go whether it was over or not. I'm not sure if it was.
What goal am I looking for here? What's the game?
First goal for Portsmouth, right? I'm playing my first goal for Portsmouth in my second spell there. Away at Goodison, I think we won 3-0.
Right, guys, I've got the video, okay?
Let's have a look. So here we go. So back heel from Davis. Lovely chip from Defoe. Oh, Crouchy, that's Defoe's goal.
Is there definitely not a touch of line on there?
If only there was goal line technology at that time.
Well, whack it up on socials and we'll let the people decide.
Yeah. We'll let the people decide, says Crouchy, but only if it doesn't alter the official record.
Also, it is kind of rare where it happens, but what a wonderful image of 2 players claiming a goal, sort of shooting off in 2 different directions. And then you've almost got to out-celebrate each other.
Crouchy, if you've run off and you're looking at the fans, to me as one of your teammates, that's not a big come on. But if you do the whole sort of turn around and the beckon, oh, come on, celebrate with me.
You say that though, but the more I look back at what's happening behind me, the more guilty I look.
Oh, so you've got to brazen it out.
Yeah.
You know,
no,
so
you've got to be bold. You've just got to
I'm
be
going
bold,
straight
haven't
for
you?
the fans. I'm going.
Why would I look back? This is my goal.
That is my goal. I'm in the fans, and then you celebrate like everyone else over there is going. Oh, are we in the wrong place here? You know, I'm in the fans. So then they're having doubt. Well, I have no doubt. And then if I turn around and there's a furore about whose goal it was, what are you joking? What are you talking about?
Why? Why is there a furore? I've just scored. What are you talking about?
It's such a wonderful situation. It's basically an impromptu dance-off. We're going to look into this Portsmouth goal. Maybe we can get some actual boffins on it as well to apply some technology. And
I don't think we need the boffins. Let's
You're worried,
leave the
Crouchy,
boffins.
aren't you?
Let's leave the boffins out. I think we should. I think we should get people to send comments to me, to you, whatever on the or email in the decision, and then we'll look at it. And then we'll continue to have it in record books as my goal.
Nice.
The problem here, Chris, is that the other one that's come to my mind is not good for Crouchy either, which is his first goal for Liverpool, which some people would argue was a double own goal.
When you look back at that goal, I actually touched the ball third last.
Have you seen this, Chris? So Crouchy has a dip, hits a defender, still not going in. Is it Mike Pollitt in goal for Wigan?
Mike Pollitt's in goal, yeah. He's tried to palm it over and he's palmed it into the back of the net.
Have you heard about the dubious goals committee?
No, what's this? They sound.
I know.
Secret.
I met someone.
Crouchy's...
Yeah, they are exactly. They are fucking secret.
It's an amazing idea. The dubious goals committee. Crouchy, do you want to fill us in?
I don't think Crouchy looks keen on this at all.
No. Well, only because I felt like they were taking loads of goals off me at the start. This one was, to be fair, it wasn't my goal, but I was so desperate for it. I was like, please let me have it. But yeah, it goes to this dubious goals committee. But I feel like it's the faceless men. You don't really they're just. Who are they? Nobody knows.
Whose faceless men.
You know, whose goal is it? So I inquired. I was like, I remember speaking to Jeff Shreves at the time. He didn't really know either. It's like it's like this world's biggest mystery.
Do you know they keep it secret deliberately to prevent the identities getting out, so no one, because they don't meet straight after a disputed goal. They meet sort of 4 or 5 times a season, and they'll sit down and watch a video of any goal which has had some sort of deflection on it. Yeah, and then there's a rule: if the initial attempt is goal bound, it's credited to the player making the goal attempt. However, if the deflection means that a wayward effort results in a goal, then it's attributed to the player who had the last definitive touch of the ball. So Crouchy, in your scenario against Wigan for Liverpool, because your initial shot was going in, the fact that it then hit a defender, looped up in the air and was palmed in by Mike Pollitt actually doesn't matter.
Are you one of the faceless men, Tom?
I'd love that gig. How good would that be? All that power and no one ever finds out.
I was at a game recently and I made my feelings known about the dubious goals panel. This fella come up to me and said, I was on the panel, you know. I was like, you bastard. Were you?
Who was it?
I can't remember his name. It was at Anfield.
No.
It was part of the referees sort of vibe.
We should get one of them on. We can disguise their voice and perhaps we can ask them some of these goals that have been...
That's good. We'll do the robot voice on them. We'll put them, in the background so you can't really see them. And then we'll ask them to take us through goals that they've chalked off and why.
Yeah.
Which way would you rule, do you think? I'm guessing that you would favour, most deflections you would rather give as the striker's goal.
It's black and white. If an effort is goal bound and it takes a slight deflection, or even a big deflection, then I think that's the striker's goal. I think we really do have to favour the attacker here. And I'm not just saying that because I was a forward. A defender does not want an OG to his name. A striker loves every goal's important to him.
England against Panama at the last World Cup. Harry Kane gets a hat-trick. His hat-trick goal. So there's a shot from Ruben Loftus-Cheek, which is probably goal-bound, and it hits Harry Kane on the foot and goes past the goalkeeper. He gets the hat-trick. All the players run to him. The one player doesn't run to him, Ruben Loftus-Cheek.
If I was on the panel, if I was one of the faceless men, I think... if a touch comes off your own player, I'm afraid it's their goal.
If it's a deflection off an opposition player, it's your goal. If it's a deflection of one of your players, your player gets the goal.
I think so, yeah. I believe so.
You see, you're right. That's a problem.
Because no, it's not a problem because there's no way you can get inside of Harry Kane's mind and say he didn't mean it. I mean, if he says he did mean it, how can you argue with that?
Also, Crouchy, what I love about this so much is obviously this affects you personally. Let's say one of your headed goals goes, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's the Guinness World Record.
I think I'm about 3 and 4 in the lead.
Yeah, but you're still one down on the piece of paper, aren't you? We'd have to get it reprinted.
Listen, I don't want to lose any goals at all. So I'm not even sure that I want this podcast to go out.
This is so good. This is because he genuinely, I can see him sort of tiny bit angry about the whole thing here.
Well, no, if I get one of my goals chalked off because of this podcast, I'm retiring from this podcast.
This is suddenly, Chris, becoming like one of those detective shows when someone who's got away with a murder 15 years ago, suddenly fresh evidence has been uncovered and a couple of cops, Fordyce and Stark, dig up this old case. And Stark says to Fordyce, there's something I don't like about this case.
The only problem about
Football
this is
crime.
I'm happy with the burden. You know, like you're thinking that someone's going to come in and go, I've had this weight on my shoulders for 15 years and I need justice to be done. I'm comfortable living with this burden. Like, I'm happy with the goals I've scored and I'm happy with some of the ones I cheated.
Yeah, but wait till Fordyce and Stark take you in for questioning.
Do you remember when Chris was an agent who was trying to sell me? I broke him in like 5 seconds.
Well, look, I don't know how we got onto this conversation, but it's an amazing one. The Faceless Men, something that we need to look into. I think it started from that message from Elliot. So, Elliot, thank you so much for sparking off the chat.
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
Now, last week, Susie Dent was kind enough to define the term shithouse. Thanks to all of you who've contacted us about more football terms that you wanted to know the origin of. One we've been wondering about is where the term bottling it came from.
Yeah, my take on it is I reckon it's derived from Cockney rhyming slang. Like a bottle is like your arse. So, you know, when people talk about their arsehole falling out, it's along the lines of shitting yourself.
Bottle and arse, the connection there, if it's Cockney rhyming slang, is bottle and glass is rhyming slang for arse.
Crouchy, I think you'd agree, right? Bottled it, though, is only used in football. I don't really hear it in any other context.
Well, it's so similar. I mean, we were talking about it before, weren't we? If you look at like commentators and they use the word panache and aplomb, they've never been used in any other walk of life other than football.
Someone tweeted us to say the word parry, but you only ever hear about it in football.
You know, if Ab drops a knife in the kitchen or something, you know, she didn't she's parried the knife. It's never been said.
I think parry comes from sword fights because you would parry an attack. So if someone comes at you with a blade,
now we're talking.
Well, listen, so many questions, boys. Should we see what Susie's picked out this week?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, lovely.
Hi, guys. Really glad that people liked the origin of shithousery. So here's the next phrase of the day, bottling it. This takes us sort of back to arse ropes, that 14th century word for the intestines, because if you bottle it, the implication is you have no guts. And that's pretty much where it began, because bottle here is early 20th century rhyming slang for bottle and glass, arse. And bottle and glass was originally used in criminal underworld slang for someone's hip pocket, which is near your arse, then for your buttocks themselves, and then finally bottle and glass meant courage, bravery, or spirit. So if you've lost your bottle and glass arse, you failed to achieve something because you didn't have the courage, you didn't have that bottle. And the first uses of the exact phrase bottling it are much more recent. Our first records are from the late 70s, early 1980s. So the moral is, always hold on to your bottle and glass. I hope that helps.
Wow.
I mean, it's actually really interesting, isn't it?
The great thing about bottling it and shithouse, as she did last time, was when the video went out, I noticed everyone was just tagging in mates that I assume were shithouses, and people are just kind of using it to send a message. So what I'm hoping with this is when this gets out there, that everyone be able to do the same with bottle job or bottling it and just tag your most appropriate mate.
Boys, very, very good news. We've all enjoyed the Roy Keane pictures massively in this series of the podcast, and they continue to pile in. What I'm going to say about the first one, it's from James. It's got everything that we'd expect. After pouring Roy a cup of tea at a Cobh Ramblers match in Cork, I asked him for a photo. Roy responded, "All right, but don't make it obvious or every other fucker will want one." James, again, is looking like all people in these photos. James is looking delighted. Keane looks like he's going to grey hoodie over. He looks like he's going to dash his hot cup of tea into the eyes of the person taking the photograph.
He's clearly having all these photos taken. I mean, he's clearly a lovely bloke, but I'm obsessed with the thing that gets said to ask for the photo and the response being the name of this work of art, because we've really stumbled upon something here. I've got one from Aidan. I took a photo for my mate who bumped into Roy outside Villa Park. It's always bumping into, isn't it? Bumped into Roy outside Villa Park. After posing, he looked me dead in the eye and said, "When you put that on Facebook, it's going to look like I'm in fucking prison."
I've just seen the photo.
Have a look at the snap.
And it's him behind a fence. He's obviously,
God.
you know, where people are separated from the public.
So what's happened here is Aidan has seen Roy Keane on the other side of some fencing, called him over, and that's...
Oh, my God.
Roy Keane is staring at the camera with not just his usual aggression, but the look of total disbelief.
I've had photos there before. That's the car park at Villa Park.
Crouchy, have you got one?
I got one from John. He's been in touch. He said, in a bid to impress my new girlfriend, I went up to him and said, "Roy, my girlfriend thinks you're brilliant. Is it okay if I have my picture taken with you?" He replied, "I fucking have to now, don't I?"
And it's... So again, we've got the classic setup of John, in this case, looking delighted. Roy Keane is in a dark suit with a dark jumper that makes the collar of his shirt look a little bit like a dog collar on a priest. It's like a sort of Roy Keane as an angry priest.
Oh, wow.
He's not having this picture one bit, is he?
That's been one take as well. It's a slightly blurry picture, but he hasn't dared ask for a second. What's the winner there, lads? For me, it's got to be the through the fence.
The cup of tea one, he's the most menacing in that one.
You can almost feel how that photo is played out, the first one, just in like trying not to make it obvious. You know?
No, that one's. I think that one's my favourite.
Oh, I love him.
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
Crouchy, how you doing? Listen, you know me. I'm always on the lookout for talent. I want to strengthen the fight stable as much as possible. I'm looking for 3 footballers. Tell me the 3 hardest footballers that you would recommend me signing to get into the square circle. I want explanation and stories as well. The 3 footballers to make the move to pro boxing.
Great question, Eddie Hearn.
There's a few that fancy themselves as well.
There's a few who either have boxed or gone on to boxing.
James McLean, I'm going to go for. He's definitely one.
What weight category would he be, Crouchy? I think, Chris, we should try and choose fighters across a range of weight categories. So we probably need like a lightweight or below, and then we need... McLean's going to be what sort of super middleweight, is he?
Yeah,
probably
like
boil down to a middleweight.
Kind of vibes. Yeah, I think so.
So if you get us a heavyweight and a lightweight,
I feel like Akinfenwa could be a strong heavyweight contender. And I think someone who could, someone with a bit of techers as well. I think, I wouldn't fancy a right hook off him. Robert Hoof, definitely.
Have you ever been punched by a footballer, Crouchy?
I remember when I was a kid, this big kid came. He was a couple of years older, and he came to train with our team. I remember nutmegging him once and laughing. I put it through again and went, I said something like, "Oh, you shit." As I sort of turned around to laugh, he's hit me with this bombshell. I think it's the hardest I've ever been hit.
Wow.
Yeah, I went down one punch, but it livened me up big time. I deserved it fully. Sort of put me in my place a little bit.
Well, you didn't nutmeg him after that, did you?
No, exactly.
That's classic. Let him know you're there.
Let him know you're there. But having said that, me and Philip Walshide, do you remember this? The worst fight of all time. On a Friday before a Saturday game, if you're in the team, you defend set pieces against the people that aren't in the team. Anyway, this particular day, Walshide was all over me. I was picking him up. I'm not joking. I've never seen a man more desperate to score a goal. So as he like, we're all holding the line, and it's like, don't break the line, don't let anyone through the gaps. So I'm literally, with all my force, I'm holding someone, and I said, "Phil, stop being busy," like politely. And then he carries on with this anyway. So I've given him a forearm. And then he's still constantly trying to get through, so it gets really aggressive now. So I've started elbowing him, and he's doing the same to me, and he's like kicking me, and I'm like, this is training day before a game. And it's got to the stage where he's run through and I've elbowed him and he's like kicked out at me and like thuds all down my shin. And I've turned round to him and I've just got him and I'm so angry and I've grabbed him and I've got his, like, my fist closed like that on his face and I'm desperate to punch him, but I know I shouldn't. So I just sort of like, push his face with my fist. And he goes, oh, he goes, you've
the worst
seen
punch
this?
of all time.
It was literally, yeah, it was, I pushed his face with my fist. I mean, it was embarrassing. And he goes, mental. And he goes, oh, you've seen this, coach, you've seen this. He's punched me. Anyway, he storms in. Well, I've never seen anything like it. It was an incredible moment. I wish it was captured because it was an embarrassment.
He was also, Crouchy, you told me a great story about him on a funicular railway.
Oh, yeah, amazing. I remember a pre-season tour and a couple of lads were like, oh, what are we going to do? We're going to town, play a bit of golf, whatever. And anyway, Philip came back and he looked like he'd had a busy day and he was like, Phil, all good, what'd you happen? He said, no, I had a terrible day. I was stuck in the funicular for hours. I had to Google the funicular. I've never even heard of the term. But it's a lift, apparently, that goes down. Well, this particular one was going down all the rocks into the village. And he wanted to go on it, but he got stuck in it for 2 hours. What a man. I mean, absolute character. Loved him.
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
Right, yeah, this is Tom's favourite part of the podcast, I think, where he promotes another podcast. Take it away, Tom.
Once again, it is the BBC Match of the Day podcast where Gary Lineker, Alan Shearer and Ian Wright discuss a top 10. We tend to rank them as well, boys, don't we? What should we rank them on this week?
Maybe something down the Eddie Hearn route we could do.
Yeah, I think last man standing, boxing match, free for all. Who's the last man standing?
You've got one presenter and two pundits. I can see both pundits looking at each other and just going, shall we? And then wallop, Lineker's gone.
I just think he does finish last for me. I just think he's too much of he never got a yellow card in his life. That's my thinking. I don't think it's dirty tactics. And I just think Shearer and Wright is between those two. And I think technically it's a bloodbath, but I think Shearer takes it.
Because in my head, that fight is Shearer just needing to land that one punch and then Wright's in trouble. But Wright being able to just move around slightly better.
If it was down to Wright and Shearer, Wright could be winning that on points in the 11th round, and then bang, it just takes one blow from Shearer. Points don't matter anymore. It's a knockout.
Yeah, I'd like to see it.
I mean, seriously, what a fight. I'd love to see that. Although this is classic, isn't it? Where you always say you want to see two often famous people fight, and then the fight is just awful because boxing's really difficult.
Yeah, you forget it's actually a really hard sport and people train all their lives for it.
Relatively serious ending to that light-hearted debate.
It has really got me thinking now. I'm totally 50-50 on Wright or Shearer for that. Maybe if the guys could finish their next podcast
with a fight to the
by
death.
Fighting, it would be interesting to see who wins.
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.